Trump gets a rude awakening as his plans blow up in his face is not just a headline, but a reflection of a moment that has been building for months and years as controversies around the former president continue to spiral in unexpected directions. While his allies scramble to hold ground and his opponent seize every opportunity to highlight his missteps, the situation paints a picture of a political figure who is still dominant in public attention, but facing storm after storm with little relief inside. This unfolding drama captures the essence of his polarizing presence in American life. For years Trump has operated with a sense of confidence that his instincts, his loyal base and his ability to command the media would shield him from consequences. But the tide appears to be shifting. Even his allies now admit privately that the strategy of doubling down on outrage while brushing off critics is wearing thin, especially as new legal and political setbacks emerge one after another. The reality for Trump is stark. His carefully crafted image of invincibility is taking serious hits, and the consequences may reshape not only his personal future, but the broader landscape of American politics. Observers point to recent developments as evidence of this unraveling. Trump's attempt to dominate the narrative through rallies, social media posts and attacks on opponents is being overshadowed by mounting legal troubles and financial strains. His inner circle insists that these are temporary hurdles, but insiders note that the legal machinery grinding against him is relentless. Every new filing, every new subpoena, every new court date chips away at the aura of control he once projected with such force. The core of the problem lies in Trump's approach. He has long relied on spectacle and bravado to push forward, dismissing critics as part of a witch hunt and casting himself as a victim of unfair systems. While that strategy worked to rally supporters during his presidency, it now faces diminishing returns as independent voters and even some conservatives grow weary of constant chaos. The phrase "Trump gets a rude awakening" encapsulates a shift in perception as the consequences he tried to delay or avoid begin to hit with full force. Legal experts suggest that Trump's courtroom battles could drag on for years, but the immediate political costs are already visible. Fundraising is still significant, yet not at the levels his team once boasted. Legal fees continue to drain resources, and reports indicate that donors are increasingly hesitant to contribute to both campaign activities and mounting legal defenses. This tension between the need to project strength and the financial realities of sustaining his fight is becoming clearer by the day. Meanwhile, opponents are seizing the moment. Critics highlight every setback as proof that Trump's time at the center of American politics is ending, though history suggests it would be premature to count him out. The accumulation of negative headlines creates an image of a weakened figure. His rivals within the Republican Party sense opportunity, though most remain cautious about openly challenging him. They are watching closely as Trump's once unshakable dominance shows cracks. Media coverage plays a crucial role in shaping this narrative. Trump once used the media to his advantage, commanding headlines with tweets and off-the-cuff remarks. Now the coverage often focuses on his legal woes, his missteps and his inability to deliver on promises made to supporters. The balance is shifted from Trump as master of the news cycle to Trump as subject of damaging revelations. The shift is subtle but powerful, gradually eroding the myth of untouchable dominance he cultivated for years. The latest controversy involves not just legal troubles, but also strategic miscalculations. Trump's insistence on revisiting past grievances, particularly around elections, continues to alienate moderates and independent voters. Strategists warn that this fixation distracts from pressing issues like the economy, national security and health care, which matter deeply to voters. His critics argue that this obsession shows a man unable to adapt, stuck in the past rather than charting a vision for the future. This strategic blindness, they say, is blowing up in his face. Trump's base remains vocal and passionate, but analysts note that its size and intensity may not be enough to secure broad victories. While his core supporters remain convinced of his narrative of persecution, others question whether endless battles over legitimacy and personal grievances can sustain a national campaign. The numbers suggest that while he retains strong backing within certain demographics, his appeal is limited beyond that circle, raising questions about how far his influence can extend in future elections. International observers are also watching closely. Trump remains a figure of fascination abroad, both as a symbol of American populism and as a cautionary tale about the risks of unbridled rhetoric. Foreign leaders who once cultivated ties with him are now more hesitant, while allies in Europe and Asia recalibrate their expectations about American politics. The global stage reflects back a mixed image of Trump, part cautionary figure, part enduring populist, but increasingly weighed down by the baggage of his choices. Economic realities add another layer to the drama. Trump's businesses face scrutiny, financial records are being examined, and partners are wary of reputational risks associated with his brand. What was once a symbol of power and luxury is now tangled in litigation and controversy. Reports suggest that some of his business ventures are under pressure, struggling with declining revenues and worry investors. The connection between his political and business struggles is undeniable. Each setback in one sphere magnifies difficulties in the other. Trump's response to all this follows a familiar pattern. He lashes out at critics, accuses opponents of corruption, and insists that he is the victim of unprecedented attacks. But even monotonous playbook is showing signs of fatigue. Audiences that once hung on every outburst now show signs of exhaustion, and even supporters acknowledge privately that constant outrage is difficult to sustain without new victories or tangible progress to rally around. The atmosphere feels different, more uncertain, less confident than before. Analysts point out that Trump thrives in conflict, but the accumulation of conflicts without resolution may prove unsustainable for years. His strategy of pushing forward relentlessly allowed him to weather storms that would have ended other political careers, but the sheer weight of legal, political and financial troubles converging at once makes this moment uniquely challenging. He faces not just one crisis, but many, each capable of consuming time, energy and resources. The rude awakening for Trump lies in the recognition that his usual tactics may not suffice this time. He built a career on being the disrupt to the outsider, the figure who broke rules and got away with it. Now the very systems he railed against are pressing back with full force. The courts, the financial regulators, the media landscape all represent challenges that cannot simply be brushed aside with a tweet or a rally speech. This reality is striking at the core of his identity as a political figure. Supporters insist that Trump will fight on. They point to his resilience, his ability to rebound from setbacks, and the loyalty of his base. They argue that every attack only strengthens his resolve and deepens his connection to ordinary Americans who feel persecuted by elites. But critics counter that there is a difference between surviving controversies and thriving in politics. Survival may not be enough to sustain momentum, especially when rivals are preparing alternative visions for the future. The political calendar adds pressure. Upcoming debates, primaries and campaign milestones create moments when Trump must show strength or risk losing ground. Rivals are waiting to seize on any sign of weakness, while allies quietly question whether sticking with Trump is the safest path to victory. The tension between loyalty and pragmatism is growing sharper within his party. Insiders whisper about backup plans even as they publicly pledge support. The contrast between public unity and private doubt is telling. Cultural dynamics also play a role. Trump has always been more than a politician. He is a cultural figure shaping conversations about identity, nationalism, and belonging. His ability to frame himself as a champion of forgotten Americans remains potent. Yet cultural shifts, particularly among younger voters, complicate his appeal. New generations are less receptive to the combative style that defined his rise and more interested in solutions that feel forward-looking. The clash between these dynamics defines the stakes of his next moves. The phrase "his plans blow up in his face" captures more than just a single failure. It reflects a series of cascading challenges that undermine the foundation of his strategy. Promises to swiftly resolve legal troubles, promises to restore lost glory, promises to dominate political rivals all face delays, complications and setbacks. Each broken or delayed promise chips away at credibility, fuel and doubts even among those once firmly convinced of his inevitability. Trump's opponents exploit these failures with precision, highlighting every delay, every contradiction, every courtroom appearance as evidence that he is not the figure he once claimed to be. They frame him as weak and distracted, consumed by personal troubles rather than focused on the issues that matter to the nation. This framing is beginning to resonate outside his base, contributing to the broader narrative of decline. Yet it would be premature to write Trump off completely. History shows his uncanny ability to defy expectations and rebound from crises. Many observers caution that while he faces unprecedented challenges, his connection to millions of voters remains real and powerful. The question is whether that connection can overcome the cumulative weight of controversies in an environment where attention spans are short, but consequences are mounting. The outcome remains uncertain. For now, the story is one of turbulence. Trump finds himself at the center of storms not of his choosing, yet also partly of his own making. His refusal to change course, his insistence on fighting every battle, his reliance on old strategies and new circumstances all contribute to the sense of a man caught in a web of his own design. He built his brand on the promise of control and dominance, yet today he confronts forces that appear increasingly beyond his control. As events unfold, the phrase "rude awakening" grows more fitting each day. Legal challenges grow more serious, political rivals grow bolder, donors grow more cautious, and media coverage grows less forgiving. The combined effect is a political figure facing not just isolated challenges, but an existential test of whether his model of politics can endure beyond its moment of peak influence. The coming months will determine whether he can adapt, or whether history will mark this period as the beginning of his decline. In the end, Trump's story remains a uniquely American drama, blending ambition, conflict, spectacle, and consequence. The rude awakening he faces today may not be the final chapter, but it marks a turning point. The once unshakable image of invincibility is fractured, his plans carefully laid or hastily devised are colliding with realities that cannot be ignored. The world is watching as a man who built his career on defying odds now confronts odds that may finally defy him. This moment feels different from past controversies, not just another scandal, not just another round of outrage, but a convergence of pressures that strike at the heart of Trump's strategy and identity. The rude awakening is here. His plans are indeed blowing up in his face. face, and the outcome will not only shape his own destiny, but the future of the political landscape in ways that will reverberate for years to come.